Hey everyone, this is Car Ray Rob, where I'm Ray.
And I'm Rob, and we want to welcome you to our brand new season of Hello Movies, My Old Friend. Hello, movies. Hello, movies. Hello, movies. My old friend. That's right, everyone. We are back with a brand new episode of Hello Movies, My Old Friend. And before we get started, Ray, tell everyone what it is we do here.
Sure, Rob. You know, on Hello Movies, we are looking back at a movie we have not seen in a really, really long time, at least like 20 years. A movie that we remember fondly, we remember loving, but not sure why we haven't seen it in a while. We want to see if it still holds up.
Absolutely. You know, this is our second season
Yes.
of doing this, which I'm so proud of us doing. But I will have to say that we have had a
Shockingly.
rocky first season.
Yes, we picked movies that we loved, but when we rewatched them, we're like, I don't know if I still love that anymore. They just weren't. The quality was maybe different reasons for a lot of them, but they just didn't hold up.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe it's just age and tastes change. There's a lot of different reasons why movies don't hold up. But you know, we really wanted to hopefully pick a winner for our first episode in our second season, just so we can get things off on the right foot.
Yeah, you know, it's funny that our mind plays tricks on us. We've discovered that in a lot of these movies, we just don't remember them exactly the way they actually are. Some parts that we remember being important weren't really as important and stuff like that. But in this movie, I think I remember it pretty well. I mean, it's Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder.
We're getting Tom Cruise on the podcast, and you know, he just drives in a circle the whole time. So I'm pretty sure I remember it well.
Yeah, I mean, and nothing happens to him.
No, it's just like a normal NASCAR race.
Making left turns.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Days of Thunder, Tony Scott action drama, 1990.
Yes.
Which is, I did not realize just how long ago this movie was made.
Yeah, it's like 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, no. I do remember loving this movie as a kid, and there's probably various reasons why. My dad was and still is to this day a very big NASCAR fan, so racing was always on in my house. So a movie like this was just right up the household alley, if you will. And I do like Tom Cruise to a degree. I think he's a little crazy now, but that happens in old age, I think.
Sure. Yeah. This was him, I guess, dipping his toe in, only doing action movies.
Right.
I guess this was quite a few years before Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
That whole thing started.
But after Days of Thunder, which is probably why he did it, because Jerry Bruckheimer produced this as well. So that kind of, that whole world. But I think this is also, if I'm not mistaken, the movie where Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman met.
Oh, really?
And fell in love.
Well, that's beautiful. So what we see on screen is real.
Maybe.
It really happened this way.
Absolutely. But for those of you who do not remember Days of Thunder, or maybe never saw it, this movie revolves around Cole Trickle, who is a race car driver who's kind of a hothead, if I remember correctly. And
kind of think of the movie Cars a little bit, like the rookie maybe potentially, or just starting off.
Sure, I can see that. And I remember he kind of I don't think he's starting out at the top like when the movie starts. I think it's like an upswing kind of situation.
Yeah.
But then he becomes very good and kind of a superstar. And then there's also some he bring in the nemesis, Michael Rooker is in it, who we love Michael Rooker. And Carrie Elways, which was another. I don't really remember his character too. I do think I remember him trying to have a southern accent.
Oh no, that'd be horrible.
I think
I hope
that.
not.
I think that's in there. I honestly do. I could be wrong.
I'm remembering like a big injury scene.
Yeah,
I think Michael Rooker and Tom Cruise, because I one scene that I know I remember in the movie is them like racing down a hallway in the hospital in their wheelchairs.
Yeah,
something like that.
I think 100% right. I think Cole Trickle has a bad accident. And it's like has to come back and all that. So yeah, I definitely remember that.
Nicole Kidman is his therapist,
doctor, something.
Yeah.
And I think if I remember correctly, she gets to use her Australian accent.
Oh, nice.
So that's fun because she doesn't use that much anymore.
No.
I don't even know if she has it anymore.
Did we hear it in Lion in the first season on Say Hello to My Little Film?
Did she have it?
I don't remember.
Now I don't. Now Now I'm gonna have to go
Rewatch
back, and we're
Lion.
gonna have to
You
go back and
didn't.
rewatch
Yeah, that was a
Lion.
tough watch for you.
It was a little bit of a tough watch, but that might be worth it. But yeah, so a lot of fun memories of
Great
Days of
cast.
Thunder.
Robert
Great
Duvall, I
cast.
know, is
Yep.
in this. John
Yep.
C. Riley, I remember being
Yeah,
in
I think
this.
he
I
has
think
a
he's a
bit part in
background
it
character,
too.
but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful that this movie's going to kick us off on the right foot here for Hello Movies, my old friend, season 2.
Well, Rob, this is usually the part of the podcast where we go check the movie out. And we
Yeah.
invite the audience, if you haven't seen Days of Thunder in a thick minute, go check it out. Pause the podcast, watch the movie, and then come back, unpause the podcast, and listen to me and Rob tell you what we think and see if this movie was able to hold up.
Ray and Rob are currently watching The Film. You may be also watching The Film. If you're not, then you're listening to me say that Ray and Rob are watching The Film. They'll be right back when they're done watching The Film.
All right, everyone, we are back. We are back from the racetrack. We are back from watching Cole Trickle take that checkered flag. But you know, Ray, before we get started, I gotta tell you the most jarring thing about this movie right out of the gate.
I wish I had an insert joke line here, but all right, just tell me what it was.
Well, maybe this is the joke, because Randy Quaid plays a normal human being.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, I gotta imagine there are that are full all over
least all over
Daytona
tracks.
race track right there. You know?
Yeah, that's probably the hardest acting job he's had to do. Act normal.
Right?
But he pulled it off fine.
Yeah, it was fine. Like, he had his moments where you could see his face, like, kind of get into that, Eddie versus Vacation face. But yeah, for the most part, Randy Quaid was a normal human being. So
Yes, and he was
tips my hat.
he was fine, and you know what? I think a lot of this movie was fine.
Yeah.
I feel like it does a lot of things that I think make sense, but we'll discover what we truly feel about it as we get to the end. But I don't know if it left me feeling as warm as I felt when I was younger.
Sure.
I mean, this is Top Gun.
Yeah, I was
Part
going to say,
two.
I think that's really where we need to start.
Yeah.
It's clear from the beginning that, as I'm watching this movie, that being, regrouping, I guess,
Sure.
whatever, of Tony Scott, Jerry Bruckheimer, Don Simpson, Tom Cruise,
They're back at it again.
Right, they're back at it again. I can guarantee you, I can see the pitch for this movie now, or it's Top Gun on the racetrack.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
that was it. Like, Bruckheimer, Simpson sat down and said that's what this is. This is Top Gun on the racetrack, and they're like, done, green lit, let's go.
Sounds great. Yeah, I was I tell you, I got a little worried because I was kind of pumped to watch this again. I've been really looking forward to seeing this, and within the first 10 seconds on the credits, when I saw story by such and such and Tom Cruise, I was like, oh no,
Yeah.
I don't remember that. And no offense to Tom Cruise, but it's not like he's been writing a lot of movies or making a lot of movies that have come from his ideas since then. So that it's obviously not something that's up his wheelhouse. And
That's
I was
true.
like, this is maybe not going to be good.
Now, to be fair, you're right. The screenplay is written by Robert Towne, and then the story is Robert Towne and Tom Cruise. And that could just be that, like, after the screenplay was written, or maybe on set, like, there were certain elements, or that
Maybe,
Tom
yeah.
Cruise like read the script, it's like, oh, how about this or that or whatever, and they ended up giving him a story credit, as
Sure.
opposed to, like, a screenwriting credit or something, because that does happen. That kind of stuff can happen. Or it's something that maybe Tom Cruise knew Robert Towne, and I don't know the backstory, but either way,
And he said, hey, cars instead of planes, ... He's like, you just made a movie,
If
sir.
there were if there were text messages back then, that's exactly what it would have said.
Yeah, just had to say ...
Race cars
back
instead
then.
of or instead of fighter jets?
Aeroplanes.
Yeah. So yeah.
So all right, so this movie is race cars instead of jet planes. But what is the movie like? What were they going for? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think it's fair that you watch this movie and definitely not feel like it has the guts, if you will, of Top Gun, the heart
Sure.
of Top Gun. But I do think that there's some interesting stuff that we can talk about this movie narratively, and,
Yeah.
and I think that there's certain things that they kind of explore, and especially in the world of race car driving, and that, in all honesty, they kind of touched on in Top Gun as well, and that is this idea of trust.
Yeah.
So you've got the Cole Trickle character who is comes kind of out of nowhere, as far as this racing scene goes.
He's a hot shot new kid.
Right, yeah.
Never even raced a stock car before.
Right, and he, he's coming on board, and he in the situation, which is already a bit fraught because the Harry character, Robert Duvall's character, already kind of has a big ghost sitting on his shoulder, and that's
literal ghost.
Buddy Bretherton.
Yeah.
And so he's already hesitant to get back into the game, but normal human being Randy Quaid shows up, throwing money at him and being like, I'm trying to put together a race team. I need you to
got a driver.
Right, and I need you to lead it. And so he's able to kind of get him to come and look at Cole, and so there's no trust at the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Harry trusts Tim, which is Randy Quaid, and he definitely doesn't trust Cole because he doesn't know him.
Right.
And I think the first intro scene is weird.
Very poorly done in a way. like
it's weird.
It's a horrible intro for Cole. Like, it almost makes Cole look like a villain, I feel like.
Sure.
He comes in so cold. He rides in on the motorcycle, which, I don't know, maybe doesn't seem like he went into the parking spot where everybody else parked their cars.
Right.
He drove right onto the track with his motorcycle. They seem a little put off by it. They're probably right. And then he just kind of gets off his bike, throws his jacket down, and doesn't look at anybody, doesn't say hi, doesn't shake any hands, just looks at the car, turns his back to everybody. He has a couple sentences back and forth with Harry where he refuses to even look at Harry. I'm like, this is not how you would really make a first impression, unless this was like, this is a late 80s, early 90s movie, and I'm trying to look as cool as possible right now.
Yeah, and I think the funniest thing about it is I think that whole scene really is built for one line, and that is when Cole looks at Harry and says, I'm not going to make a fool out of you.
Yeah.
Like, because there's a callback later to that in the movie as well. And it's like that whole scene is built for that one line. And I get it. Like, that scenes are, obviously written for specific purposes.
Sure.
And this is an intro scene. So, not only are you introing Cole, but you're also introing, like, the relationships amongst the team itself. Yeah. It's... I get it. Like, I get why that would be built for it. But you're right. Like, everything just feels so wonky up until that moment. Like, that's the anchor. Like, that's the, once he says that line, like, everything makes sense, I guess.
It's like, well, because he sounds like a normal human being again.
Right. And that's true. It's kind of like a light switch flip. But it's almost like maybe you can take it that, like, Cole was putting up some kind of a barrier.
Sure.
Because he didn't trust them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that goes back to my point about how much of this movie really is about trust. So that could kind of like recontextualize that scene a little bit if you look at it through the lens of Cole doesn't trust them, just like they don't trust Cole.
Yeah. I mean, that could definitely make sense. And, I think that's maybe kind of what they're going for. Like, Cole's, got some learning to do. We know, throughout the movie, we learn, he's got some holes in his game, so he's probably being guarded. He doesn't want to show his hand, that he's not, doesn't know as much about cars as possible. It just feels weird. Like, this is your job interview, and you refuse to look at your boss. So It just seems weird. Like a weird first choice, but it works in Cole's favor. He does just fine. He's faster than Rowdy around the track.
Right.
That kind of pisses Rowdy off, and now they're mortal enemies.
Right.
So, a lot of things get put in motion. But I will say, for the most part, so, you have to start Cole and Harry, Robert Duvall, I think is super fun in this movie. You got to start him in one spot so that the relationship can grow, right? So you got to start it. You can't start it, where like, hey, I'm going to call you son. Right. You got to start back. But I do find their relationship to be pretty charming throughout the entire movie. Like, I think the Cole Harry stuff probably works best for me. I just think like it works for the most part. They they do learn to trust each other, and they play tag together a lot. Like, that is very cool.
Yeah, and I think Duvall just plays that character so well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's he's like a warm blanket in that way. Yeah. You know what I mean. And I think he plays this kind of countrified hard ass, but also like you said, kind of has that heart of gold.
Yeah,
and
that's why when I got older, I struggled seeing him in Godfather. I'm like, I think I was used to like Days of Thunder kind of Robert Duvall style, and
Sure.
not so much or Phenomenon
Right.
Robert Duvall. And then when I saw Godfather, and like, oh, that's not Robert Duvall.
Yeah, and he has a lot of great scenes, throughout this movie. That and some with some with Cole, some without, but
Some with cars.
some with cars, right? And that's true. Like it's so funny because so obviously they Cole gets the job. They're going to start the team. It is what it is, and then like they have to build the car, and that first initial scene where like Robert Duvall is in the the shop or
Barn.
whatever barn, which is like it looks like a crap barn on the outside, and it's like a high tech
Yeah.
race car
Like the
building
Batcave on the
manufacturing
inside.
facility on the inside. You're like, what the hell is this? But inside it's just so Tony Scott. Like that
Yeah.
whole sequence is kind of like
Tony Stark.
soft, majestic lighting. Like it's like you got the beams of light that are
Yeah.
kind of like cutting through, and like it's so Tony. Again, if there was any kind of thing up to this point that was like this is a Tony Scott movie, that was it.
Yeah. Oh, I think we're gonna say Tony Stark because they're building something.
There you go. That's fair.
Yeah. But so I don't know if it'd be a stretch for me to say that I think Robert Duvall is probably my favorite character, but I do feel like there was some, I don't know if like maybe, I don't know if saying there was an abundance of subtlety would be giving it too much credit, but like I feel like there's this father son thing. Like maybe that's kind of the trust that we're talking too, but there's this like fatherly figure that Robert Duvall's character kind of is kind of turning into for Cole, and we see it in moments where I think when Cole is when he's injured in the hospital bed and he's blind and he just wants someone to talk to him like basically like Harry does.
Yeah.
You see that little flicker in Harry's eye where he just feels really proud and like I'm really connecting with this person. And but I think they really play that subtlety up where it's like does he I get confused that part. So like, does he want to be like the father figure for Cole, or does he not? Like they seem like they abandon each other early, or is he scared to because his last driver died? That's what I was thinking for a moment. But then I was like, wait, the last driver was probably his age because it's John C. Reilly's dad.
Right.
So it's like that's so like I don't know. It just felt like weird. Like his loss, his ghost, the way it was affecting him from connecting with Cole seemed a little muddy to me.
Yeah, I can agree with that. They both have their own separate ghosts. So what definitely would make me, in that father figure archetype, lane with you is the fact that Cole's ghost is his father. Like he talks about that on the bus, whatever. And I think in that scene, because that with Robert Duvall, like it kind of it sets that up in Robert Duvall's mind. Like okay, like maybe not that he wants to be that for him, but just that like that's what their relationship's gonna kind of ultimately be, because Cole is searching for that
a father figure.
He's searching. Well, and to be fair, he's searching for someone he can trust. Like going back to that word trust, and I think that's also part of it as well. I think we it's so easy for us to say just because it's an old man and a young man, like oh it's a father figure thing, and that's true to a certain degree.
Could be an unk figure,
right? It's just unk. He's just unk. But yeah, no, I think if for the most part, it just centers around trust.
Yeah, but I guess I guess for me, I feel it's harder to see what Harry's like what his need is.
Sure.
Like what kind of driver does he need? Does he just like why does he need a driver? Like I just maybe feel like they don't define his need. He's a great character. He's loving. He's smart. He's quippy. But like, does he have a real need in this movie?
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I think part of it there is a little bit of. It feels like at least it sometimes there's a bit of like believing in yourself, you know what I mean? And it's like well because he even tells Cole at one point like I can't remember, I think it was about he was talking about Buddy Brotherton, and he was like oh like what he thinks he could do in the racetrack is like it showed me what I could do,
sure,
or what I did or whatever. So it's like, and I think that's also part of it too, is just like kind of seeing the fruits of your labor and believing that what you're doing is worthwhile.
Sure.
And I think part of that again comes back to the trust thing. And there's trust in everything. But I could definitely see, as far as, just like Top Gun, when you have your wingman, like you have to trust your wingman.
Oh yeah.
And in this instance, when you're driving these cars around the track, you have to trust your crew. You have to trust your coach, if you will, whatever the hell you want to call that
Crew
position.
chief.
Crew chief, thank
Pit
you.
boss.
Pit
I don't
boss,
know.
crew chief. Crew chief sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's crew chief.
So let's go with that. So yeah, it's you have to trust that person.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's almost contradictory at times, because there are a couple times where he actually lies to Cole.
Right.
Like, or contradicts himself, where like, don't go to the outside on turn 4.
Right.
And then, like, in that exact same race, he's like, go to the outside on turn 4. You know what I mean? So, like, that was a
Cross
little weird.
the streams.
Right, don't exactly. But usually that's way later that
well, it comes back
around.
Going
again.
high on turn 4 does come back.
It does come back, and it's fair. But it's just like, it's funny that it's like in that same race, he's like, don't do it, do it.
Yeah.
And that red button, push it. So it's that kind of thing. But then there's the tires.
Yeah.
Like telling him that he's got, there's special tires, they're
Right.
specially made or whatever.
He says it on national television. I got special tires.
Right. And it's just like,
no, you didn't.
Yeah, no, nothing really. Like, nothing really special about him. And it's like, Harry's got some explaining to do. And it's like, but in that instance, it's funny because it almost seems contradictory. I think it says to Cole that he can trust Harry to tell him what he needs to know.
Right, to make him successful.
And I think, like I said, I feel like it could feel contradictory, but I can kind of understand it as well. It's like, you have to manage somebody.
I trust you. If you're wrong one time, I'm going to be dead, but I trust you.
Right, and that's fair too. Like, if you tell me I got special tires and then I die, I'm going to be really pissed. So
yeah, I'm going to haunt you. I'm not going to forgive you, for saying you're sorry there.
Right.
But I think if we're talk about trust, I think for me, I kind of bump a little bit on Cole and Rowdy's eventual friendship. Right, like
sure.
Rowdy, I do think it's I love this how this works. I don't want to just say on paper. I think that'd be too insulting. But like the Rowdy Cole growth of a friendship, and then Cole ending up driving Rowdy's car, I think is really good filmmaking. Like I really like that story arc. I don't know if it completely hits for me now. It did when I was a kid. I thought it was awesome that their friendship got to that point. But I watch it now, and maybe I'm trying to be maybe I'm just being cynical. But it's like I didn't really know if their friendship felt 100% earned to me. I'm like, how'd you guys become best friends out of nowhere? Like, I know there's the one dinner, they lied for each other,
right,
and covered up each other's lies, I guess, or whatever, and didn't rat the other out. And ever since then, we're best friends.
Yeah,
I guess that happens.
Yeah, I think for me it comes down to that again, that word trust. I think in that instance
they trust each other.
They earned each other's trust. They'd just gone through this really traumatic experience together. They don't know where they're coming out on the other end.
Right.
And they're both in the same boat. And they go, they kind of rent the cars or whatever, and have their little road race that whatever,
beach race, road race,
right, whatever. And then you're right, they lie for each other, and in that moment it's like, okay, we can trust each other.
Sure.
It's not like Cole ratted him out or vice versa. It was like, okay, we can trust each other.
Yeah.
And I think from that moment on, it's more. So you use the word friendship. Yeah, maybe it's a friendship, but
they go on a double date together at his house,
and that's fair, and it is. I mean, you're right. It is. Yeah. But I think it's built on trust, and that's fair. I mean, all friendships are built on trust, so that's yes, it is what it is. But it's just, I think that again, that's the kernel of it for me, at least, as to why they probably did go that route. Now, is it fully fleshed out? No, I'm with you 100%. It feels very forced. It feels very fast, but there's a lot of relationships in this movie that feel like that. Nicole Kidman's relationship with Cole Trickle feels like that in this movie.
I was gonna say, because the timing of this movie is this movie takes place either in one calendar year or maybe it's 18 months, but it's pretty quick. They do a whole season of NASCARing, and so they do have to speed things along. So we totally get that. But yeah, Nicole Kidman, one of those classic things that we've discovered on the show, she comes in later in the movie than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of thought I remember her being in the movie more or longer. She is still in it a
lot. I think it's the 40-minute mark.
Yeah. And then they are making out pretty quickly. But of course, she does grab his dong pretty early on.
Right.
So once you do that, you are under his spell.
Yeah. Okay. So let's
Pause.
Pause, and let's go back for a second, because
to one of the most, I don't know if iconic might be too much, but memorable scenes of the movie.
Scenes. So we haven't really done that. We do that a lot, where we talk about the things that we remember about the movie going into it, whatever. But so this was definitely one of the things I did absolutely 100% remember about this movie going in, is the initial scene with the cops, after Cole wins his first race. They're on the road. They get pulled over, and then like they drag them all out, and you're gonna line up, or whatever. And then the lady cop grabs Cole's junk, and I'm like, you're right. Like as a kid, I'm like, man, this is awesome.
This is what friends do. This is how best friends treat each other.
I mean, but as an adult, I'm like, what is she? Is she a stripper? Is she a hooker?
Did they get a real cop car to pull them over? That's illegal.
Right. Are the other guys all cops? And
they're letting a stripper ride with them?
And like, you're a hooker? I just thought I was doing great with you.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I don't know what she is. Like, and she's like, they just thought you'd like me. I'm like, what is this, a dowry? Like, I don't understand what's going on here. Like, I feel like I should understand, but I also don't at the same time.
I'm like, how am I older now than when I originally watched the movie and I get it less?
I get it less. Well, at the time, I'm just like, man, she's
super
pretty
cool.
hot.
Yeah.
Like, and that was probably the end of it. But like as an adult, you're right. Like, well, because you understand logistics more.
Yeah.
You're like, you understand
how did
there
they
are
organize
logistics of
this?
things. And like, where is this going? Does he sleep with her after it? Like, I don't. It's so weird. So like when it gets to the Nicole Kidman scene where he makes Nicole Kidman grab his junk, which sexual harassment, like come on,
that doesn't fly.
Right? And it just feels all the weirder because it's just like, well, why would you expect this
Not everybody
here in the
does
hospital?
that.
Like it's so weird. Like you thought they'd bring you a hooker in the
I
hospital.
mean, it's a compliment to Nicole. It's saying how attractive he finds her.
No, it's you know what it is? It's saying that women can't be doctors.
Well, not 23-year-olds.
Well, okay, so that is another part. So yes, Nicole Kidman literally is 23 years old in this movie, and she's like some kind of like famous, or not famous, but just like a big time brain doctor.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what is going on? Was she Doogie Howser?
She have to be.
Like,
I just kept looking at her. I'm like,
weird.
Tom, don't do it. She's got to be a good $90,000 in debt right now. She don't do this.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it's so weird. But it is. I want to say it was like her first major role. It wasn't her first role. Her first role was BMX, or BMX Bandits. But like she
went from bikes to cars. That's an upgrade.
But it was like 7 years. Yeah. So yeah, it's super kind of strange. I think this might have been her like first big major like U.S. movie at the very least. But yeah, and obviously this was the movie where they met and they like got married and like had a life of Scientology
for a while
until she kicked him to the curb.
It worked for a while until it didn't.
Definitely didn't.
Yeah. The relationship is a little patchy in this movie. He doesn't really have to do much to win her over.
And exactly. Like I said earlier, it just
gives her flowers. Just gives her flowers.
I mean, I guess it's because he's Tom Cruise. Yeah. Like he's hot. Like whatever. Like I'm hot. You're hot. We should be together because we're hot. I guess basically kind of what it boils down to.
And
I made you grab my junk.
Yeah.
This is a public service announcement to all young men who are listening to this episode. Do not make a girl grab your junk to get her to like you. That is not going to work in the real world. It only works for Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder.
Yeah, but what I do think you should do if you already are in a committed relationship is do the sweet and low race track.
Oh my God. So we talked earlier about how this is, Top Gun essentially on the racetrack. And if there was another scene that was like, this is totally this is Top Gun, it's that. It's that scene, the post-coital scene with him and Nicole Kidman, so reminiscent of freaking Top Gun with Charlie and Maverick. But yes, I agree. The sugar packets on the thigh for a young man.
It's a good move. It's a good move.
It's a good move.
Yeah. So again, that stuff you can do that in a committed relationship. So that's cool.
They weren't committed at that point. They were just hooking up.
But yeah, well, so let's go back to Rowdy and Cole's friendship, because I do think there's some interesting stuff there too. Like I said, I feel like this whole brotherhood that's developed and stuff totally like works to me, especially on paper. And I really like how they play this thing where like Cole has such a hard time looking at Rowdy once Rowdy's kind of like I don't want to say disabled, but I guess he has a brain hemorrhage. So
Rowdy
he's got
is
some
disabled.
Kind of he's got a disability of some sort. He's got a brain hemorrhage. So
Rowdy is disabled.
Yeah. So, but I really like how they play that where it's Cole. I can't look at that because that could be him, and like they kind of toy with this idea of like racers don't go to funerals. Racers don't. They can't look at what could happen to them. I don't think they do enough with that in the movie, but. Which is, speaking of, it just kind of tangent really quick. This movie has one of the 1990s race car drivers, real life drivers who were in this movie is Neil Bonnet, who dies in a who dies on the track.
Right.
And Cole Trickle is named after Dick Trickle,
yep.
who killed himself from suicide, which who knows if that was induced because of concussions in a car and stuff. But it's really interesting that is a big part. Like that's a part of this movie. Like that death could be behind any turn.
Yeah.
But they just barely dip their toe in the water, and that is one of the most interesting parts to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think even if they don't necessarily fully flesh it out, I do think that there is certain elements of the psyche of a race car driver that they do touch on in a pretty decent ways.
Yeah, because Cole is scared.
The fear,
when he comes back.
The fear, exactly. Like that's kind of in that last act. Like really, him getting into Rowdy's car. Like it's the fear. It's like he wants to do it so badly, but he's afraid to do it. And I think it's such an interesting dynamic. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of times you do think of the guys who would do this type of thing as being thrill seekers. They're adrenaline junkies. They don't fear. They're not don't necessarily fear death or whatever. So it's. I think that is an interesting element of Cole's character, especially kind of said late in the movie.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that works, and overcoming that fear. And they do a good job in that last race. The last race when he is in Rowdy's car and he's got to. He's got to drive through the smoke, which is like the representation
it's like the gauntlet.
This is how you beat that fear.
Yep. It's the narrative gauntlet. He's got to drive through the smoke. I wrote that in my notes.
I did write in my note. I think that going into that last race, and they kind of are like, do we really want to do this? And Harry is very protective of Cole in some ways. He can't do it because he's too scared, and he's not going to be good. If you're scared, you're not going to be good, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And his last line to Nicole Kidman basically is like, I'm more afraid of being nothing than I am of being hurt.
I wrote that down.
I think it's kind of a good line, but it's almost like I'd rather be reckless and famous. I'd rather be famous and reckless, or like, like didn't seem like it made a ton of sense.
Right.
I guess it could make sense if you're saying like I'm not scared anymore, or like I'm not going to be a bad driver because I'm scared.
Right.
Like I'm not going to get hurt because of that fear.
Right.
Which I guess kind of makes sense. But the line just sounded weird to me in that moment. It sounded like a line where like it should have been set up maybe, but it wasn't. And like you can read this two different ways, and I'm reading it as like bad choice of words.
Yeah. Well, and like I mentioned in that opening scene, like I think so much of this movie, so many of these scenes are built on one line. Yeah. It's like we got to get to this one line, and I don't necessarily care how we get there. We just got to get to this one line. And
does the line make sense? Doesn't matter. We got to get there.
We got to get to this line. This line is great. It's gold. We got to get to this
line.
Well,
Nicole, just to jump on that, like I feel like Nicole Kidman has a really bad line when she's like, "Damn it, Cole, you made me sound like a doctor."
Right. It's
like what?
You are a doctor,
and you've talked like a doctor many times in this movie.
Yeah. But the funny thing about that scene is that's almost the reverse, because there's actually a lot of great stuff in that scene. It just ends badly, right? Because like you're selfish, you're crazy, and you're scared. Like all that. Just like nobody knows and nobody controls it. Like it's a great like attack by ally scene.
Yeah,
it's a great attack by ally scene. And
let me tell you something that you don't know, but everybody else does.
Right, and then like you said, you're like, damn it, you made me sound like Doctor Witch. I guess in some regards, it's like I get it, where it's like I'm not at work right now, but you're making me sound like I'm at work right now or something. But you're right, it doesn't come off as like badass.
It doesn't.
That sounded better in my head.
And she doesn't come off like a doctor, like saying like, "Hey, Doc, I think I have the flu." Well, let me tell you something that you don't know. Control is an illusion. Like, Doc, you are way off base.
Right. I just need a
she was.
Z-Pack
I'm like she was talking to him like somebody that cares for him, not like a doctor. So I'm like the line doesn't work to me on many levels. Like you just said some great stuff that like a girlfriend would tell a boyfriend. She's like, "You made me sound like a doctor." No, she didn't. But whatever.
Maybe a psychological mental health professional.
Well, and we need more of those.
Well, I think another element we need to talk about is Russ Wheeler.
Oh gosh,
which is Carrie Elways, who I love.
It's always good.
Right? He's always good.
Yeah,
always good. That's what we're gonna. I hope if you're out there, trademark that. You're always good. But yeah, and using his Southern accent, which I've actually heard that like British actors, if they have to do an American accent, they prefer to do a Southern accent.
Yeah, they say Southern is the closest to actually British. Sure, I believe it.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's kind of interesting. But yeah, and I can't tell if they want him to be Iceman or if they wanted Rowdy to be Iceman.
Yeah. Or they both are the same character.
Both the
Rowdy
same
and
character.
Rowdy and Russ are kind of the same characters. It's like Rowdy's tapped out. He's gonna be good now. Russ, you're in. You be him.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of felt like.
And that is kind of an interesting element of this movie where I don't necessarily know who the opponent is supposed to be.
Right.
I think that is one because obviously Russ Wheeler is brought in because Cole gets injured. Randy Quaid's character, needs a driver to drive while Cole's
totally makes
injured.
sense.
Totally makes sense. And then as soon as like Cole's ready to go, Tim launches another team.
Right.
With Russ Wheeler as the driver.
Which my understanding of NASCAR is pretty normal.
Yeah, maybe now. I
don't know.
Then?
Maybe if it wasn't then.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I agree. But so there's like that political element to it, you know, and like Cole feels hurt. Harry feels hurt, like betrayed by Tim, who, because they kind of like put all this together. He came to them wanting to put this team together, and now he's kind of like leaving him for this new shiny object. But by the end of the movie, Tim's almost not turning on Russ Wheeler, but he's helping Harry. He gives him an engine. He gets the crew team to help Cole push out before the pace car passes. It's like it's almost like they try to kind of give him a little bit of a redemption at the end, and I'm not even sure why.
Yeah, I know. I bumped there a little too because I was like, all right, maybe in the '90s racing organizations didn't have teams or whatever, but like they do now. So like I know that. Like I just watched that Dale Earnhardt doc. That's how I knew about Neil Bonnet a couple months ago.
There you go.
But I know Dale Earnhardt was originally asked to be Rowdy in this movie.
Oh, really?
But he didn't want to be the bad guy.
I did not know that.
I don't think it would have been a good actor.
That's super interesting. Yeah, but that'd be hard.
Yeah. But anyway, so it's like, I'm like, totally makes sense. Like, Tim doesn't, Randy Quaid doesn't want to lose Carrie Elways,
right.
Let's have two teams. And then when Harry's like, well, who do you want to win? I'd be like, both of you? Like, it's very hard to win in racing, so I just want to double my chances, basically.
Right. I think the big thing with that is the villainous aspect of Carrie Elway's racing style.
Well, yeah. So
I think that's where that comes in.
And it makes no sense because, like, I get why everybody else hated Cole. Cole was, he was the rookie. He was too wild. He was putting them in danger, so they had to teach him a lesson. Mm-hmm. But then, like, that's what Russ does to Cole, too. But Russ is now the new hotshot rookie. So, like, people should be doing it to him and not him doing it to Cole.
Yeah.
But, the movie doesn't work. That's how it happens.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it. It's like, just kind of it's like they knew that with the Rowdy element of the story being as it is and what it needed to represent, they still needed an opponent on the track. So it's like, okay, well, let's just, shoehorn in this other character and that'll be it. You know what I mean? And it does feel very paper thin in that regard because it's just and I get it, like for a racing movie like this, it's like you just needed a face.
Sure.
You know what you needed
a face. In a car,
right? But they had done such in many ways a decent enough job, kind of telling you that Cole was his opponent at that point. He's his own opponent. Right, when he got right back into the car after the accident, when he was first race back, like even Harry says like Cole's upset, and like he's upset to be in that race car. You know what I mean? And like, and that was kind of the whole thing. It's why he was hesitant to take Rowdy's car because he was afraid, he was scared. He in that moment he almost probably didn't feel like he was good enough to drive Rowdy's car.
Right.
And I think they had done a decent enough job laying that groundwork that I don't know if they necessarily needed this Russ Wheeler character to be this big opponent that, like I said, kind of feels shoehorned in.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I would tell you that does make me think of a scene, though, that I did love and did not remember until I saw it. But, like, I totally remember being young. I think it was really badass, too. It was like when Cole loses to Russ Wheeler and that one. And he's like, give me 2 more tires. And, like, what for? The race is over. And he just goes and just like crashes right into Russ Wheeler when he's on his victory lap. I'm like, that is cool.
Right. Well, it's funny because that gets him fired. I just like Randy Quaid, like he destroyed both my cars.
Yeah.
He destroyed both my cars. And like, so yeah, I mean that's obviously what blew up the whole relationship. But it's funny because it's like for a guy who was scared to get back in the car because he was in a wreck.
Yeah.
Why not? I'm going to go get in a wreck? So that's
my choice.
With my choice. I decided to do it.
Yeah.
That's just rubbing. That wasn't erect. That was rubbing.
That is something. That is
rubbing, son, is racing.
That is a quote that I do
we need
use
to talk
a
about
lot.
that.
Yeah, that is probably my favorite quote of this movie. I use it a lot for
Right.
sure. Yeah, rubbing is racing, son.
Yeah.
That's a great quote. It sounded great when he said it this time too.
Yeah.
And that is racing, Rob. This movie's about racing. I remembered this movie so fondly. Was so looking forward to it. I know you were too. So now we got to tell everybody if we think the movie held up.
Yeah.
Does your views on this movie now match that nostalgic love for this movie that you remember?
So it's funny. I had no idea in my mind how this movie was received at the time critically.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just didn't.
Sure.
That's not something I was cognizant of at the time, and I really never went back to look. So I went. I'm just looking at it right now. It's at 37% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow, that's low.
That is low. I didn't. I wouldn't have thought it was that low. And this is what the consensus is. We don't normally do this, but it's funny. Days of Thunder has Tom Cruise and plenty of Flash going for it, but they aren't enough to compensate for the stock plot, two-dimensional characters, and poorly written dialogue.
I hate the dialogue.
So there you go. That goes to Ray. But the funny thing is I guess it has gone through a reassessment, at least according to the Wikipedia page.
Sure.
And there is a big proponent, a big supporter of Days of Thunder that is going to make you laugh.
Tell me that.
You know?
No.
Quentin Tarantino. We are back with Quentin Tarantino again. He apparently loves this movie. It is his favorite big budget racing movie. He says, yeah, you laugh, but seriously, I'm a big fan. To me, Days of Thunder is the movie Grand Prix and Le Mans should have been. Sure, it had a big budget, big stars, and a big director in Tony Scott, but it had the fun those early AIP movies. It had the fun of those early AIP movies. I just don't think it works if you take the whole thing too seriously.
Okay.
And there's some truth to that.
Sure.
And I think that is, and maybe kind of where it goes, because I think if you're going into it expecting what we said, Top Gun on the racetrack, you're going to be a little disappointed because Top Gun is Top Gun. And I think that's just, it was like catching lightning in a bottle with Top Gun.
Yeah.
And so critically, I get it, like why you might come in and be underwhelmed or whatever, but I still think you can have fun with it. Yes. Now, for me, I have a lot of nostalgia for this movie. My dad is a massive NASCAR fan. Yeah. Still to this day is a massive NASCAR fan. And I have never been a NASCAR fan. But this movie always makes me think of my dad. So it holds a very, very special place in my heart for me because of that. Now, do I think it's a great movie? No. No, it is not a great movie. But it's still a fun movie.
Yeah.
And while I didn't agree with Quentin in the battle between Hunger Games and Battle Royale, I think in this one I'm going to side with Quentin and say I think it works if you don't take it too seriously and you're just going in to have a little bit of fun.
I guess could say I agree with that. I did find the movie to be fun. I feel like throughout this conversation I maybe was like taking a lot of jabs at the movie, but I never feel like the movie lagged. Like I always was pushing forward. The racing scenes were shot great.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking like, how did they film this? Because like it looks like there's a real race going on.
Yeah.
So I did look that up real quick, and I saw like they actually did film during real races. Like they would have two cars just at the back. They had two cars at the back that they had to pass inspection, had to pass qualifying times and all that stuff. And then they just had, stunt drivers just like, hey, hang back there for a little bit and do this and do that. And then they did. So, I mean, that's insane. I think that's super cool. Like,
insane.
It'd be like if you're watching an NFL game and there's like literally two characters on the side of the field.
Wide receiver in a different uniform.
Going the other direction.
Right.
Yeah,
it's like, just pass me the ball over here.
So weird. But yeah, so I did find the movie to be fun. I do feel like now, so I think about, all right, does it hold up? Like, would I go back and watch it? And I think, yeah, I probably would. Like, if it was on TV, I wouldn't mind keeping it on. But I'm also nowadays thinking, would I rather go just watch Talladega Nights?
Well, that is something we didn't really talk about, is the John C. Reilly connection. We did talk about the fact that John C. Reilly was in this movie, super skinny, super young, super crazy. But the fact that he goes on to be in Talladega Nights, which is basically the comedy version of this movie, and and a way better character. And it's funny. So I think you actually touch on something that's great there, I think. So while this movie may have been critically panned at the time, it left a legacy.
Sure.
Because Talladega Nights wouldn't exist without Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
I think you could clearly say that.
Yeah, Talladega Nights is a parody, not off a genre, but off of one movie.
Kind of
it's
one
this
movie, yeah.
Yeah. But so in a way, like I said, like this movie holds up better than I don't know if it does. Maybe it holds up as much as I thought it could.
Yeah.
But I will say this movie has been passed by to me by Talladega Nights, and this movie is now in second place. It's not getting the checkered flag.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I just, like I said, it's a special place in my heart, but is it a great movie? No.
All right, Rob. Well, I think we've done our part. We've talked enough about Days of Thunder. Let's wrap it up. I guess in movie terms or racing terms, we could say we have crossed the finish line. But the audience members, you have not done so yet. You are still stuck in turn 4. You need to go low and hit the like button. Go high, hit the subscribe button. Then right in the middle lane, I guess. And that's where you would leave us a 5-star review. And if you leave us a 5-star review, we're going to read it live on air someday. And remember, we are like your pit crew. You can reach out to us and talk to us. But you have to do that through Gmail at carrayrob@gmail.com or at carrayrob on Blue Sky.
Absolutely. You can also now find us on Instagram and Facebook. We are in the modern era now.
Those two things are popular.
Absolutely. So go over there, give us a follow, see what we're doing. If there is a comment section on whatever platform you're listening to us on, by all means, leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought of Days of Thunder. Does it still hold up for you, even though it didn't for Ray? We'd love to hear about it.
It was fun, though.
It was fun. It was fun. We will be back next week with our very first episode of February of Say Hello to My Little Film, and it will be back to me,
Yep.
and I have something I'm very excited to share with Ray, and I will go ahead and say now, it is holiday themed.
Yes. Pretty much in February, we're going to do a lot of lovey-dovey stuff.
Absolutely. So you are not going to want to miss that. We will be back in 2 weeks with our February episode of A Copy of a Copy. And as Ray said, we will continue the monthly theme, and we will be watching the original and the remake of Sabrina.
Yes, we will.
Which is Sabrina, the original, is a very, very big favorite of mine.
So I get another stab at Humphrey
You
Bogart.
get another stab at Humphrey
Very
Bogart.
interesting.
Absolutely. We will be back next month with Hello Movies, and we will be watching the 1991 romantic comedy Doc Hollywood.
Yes, Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox,
Let's do
Julie
it.
Warner, Woody Harrelson, Bridget Fonda. I remember loving this movie as
Me
a
too.
kid. I love
I can still see him
Michael J.
crashing.
Fox.
Yeah, I can still see him crashing into the sign.
Exactly, and it's definitely been a minute
Oh yeah,
since I've seen Doc
that
Hollywood.
might be the only part I remember. I just remember the feels though. I have a lot of good feels for this movie.
Well, there you go. Let's see if those feels pan out in the end. But either way, you are not going to want to miss it. But until then, this is Car Ray Rob.
Where I'm Ray.
And I'm Rob. And remember, be defined by the films you love, not the ones you hate. Hello, movies. Hello, movies. Hello, movies. My oh